Hello, crazy people. Welcome back to that subset of Mac music review that is Mac movie review. It's been a while since I've talked about any movies, so I'm very excited today to talk about my five favorite films of 2020. 2020 was an extremely weird year for movies. It's a year that not a lot of people watch the movies. It's a year when a movie that people don't really even care about, a very artsy film that just is so specific that doesn't even really have actors in it outside of two. This film, Nomadland, won Best Picture, and all of those Best Picture nominees are kind of representative of this is a different year for movies. There weren't a lot of blockbusters. We weren't able to go to the movie theater in 2020. Movie theaters just shut down like wholesale, except for Tenet, which maybe wait, was that 2021? I don't even know if that was 2020. But basically movies. Despite it being a really weird year for movies and it feeling like there weren't that many great movies made in 2020, there were some gems. There were some highlights. You may have to look outside of the realm of just, your typical blockbuster. You're looking to streaming services making films. You're looking at documentaries. You're looking at things that you may not even be watching ordinarily. You don't have a Top Gun Maverick or Nope in 2020. You have to go out and onto your Amazon account and watch Sound of Metal. It's a bit of a spoiler, but we're going to hop into it. But first, some honorable mentions. I'd like to give honorable mentions to two movies, and that is, or I don't know if these count as movies. Rewind is an Amazon original documentary series that's looking at sexual abuse from the perspective of being a child and then how it impacts you later in life, and kind of just looking back on childhood memories when you know more information like about your abuser. It's a really rough watch, but it's very, very good stuff. It's a very personal documentary also. So just be warned if that stuff is triggers or whatever, like it's rough stuff. The other honorable mention that I wanted to shout out is a little movie called Hamilton. You may have heard of it. It's not really technically a movie. It's a pro shot on Disney Plus, but it is so freaking amazing, like excellent. It is such a high quality thing. It's even in the IMDb top 250 like narrative films. There's no documentaries on there. This is the only pro shot, filmed play that's on there. But it's just so amazing. And if you love Hamilton like I love Hamilton, you're just it blew my mind. It blew me away. But it's not technically like a movie, and it's not a documentary either. So I didn't really know where to put it on my lists, and I just decided to shout out some actual like films in my top five. But this list is ordered. And there are some films that didn't get a wider release until 2021, but I am going to be including anything that was if anything was nominated for an Oscar in 2020, I am including those films. So there's some films that may have been released later on wide streaming services but had some release in 2020. We're going to talk about those. Let's hop into it. My number five is the documentary Dick Johnson is Dead. Dick Johnson is Dead is one of the better documentaries ever made. It is an it's basically grieving with death and trying to accept death from the perspective of someone who's extremely creative and somebody who kind of has to like make a movie about it and like processing it by like portraying the filmmaker is this woman and it's her real life dad portraying his death in by filming him dying in a variety of ways. It's funny. It's really, really interesting filmmaking, just super investing from start to finish, and it's really more than anything a portrait of a really like beautiful person, and it hits, bro. It's good. Number four is a movie called The Sound of Metal by Amazon Prime. It's a Prime original. In case I forgot to mention it, Dick Johnson's Dead is a Netflix original documentary, so check it out on Netflix. Anyway, Amazon, Sound of Metal. This is a good one. This is a very, very good movie. It's one of those films that it follows a certain formula. You may have seen movies like this. It goes with somebody who's dealing with a disability, in this case, deafness, which he acquired. He wasn't deaf from birth, but by playing this music, by doing a metal drummer, it just gets permanent ear damage and he starts to like go completely deaf is what's going on. So he goes to a deaf community. Riz Ahmed plays the main character. The performance by Riz Ahmed is unbelievable. It is an Oscar-worthy performance. It is a Best Actor-worthy performance. It's incredible. Um, it's really good. It's a good movie. Check it out. Number three, my third favorite film of 2020 is The Father by Florian Zeller, I think is the name of the director. This movie, kind of like Sound of Metal, is going over, it's a deep dive, immersive, very immersive film that puts you in the shoes of this old man played by Anthony Hopkins who is dying of dementia or Alzheimer's. Or I don't know if that's the right phrasing, dying of, but he's having this. And you are very confused while watching the movie because the movie is trying to put you in his shoes. You're supposed to be seeing what he's seeing. You'll have different actors play the same character because he's seeing different people and he's mixing details up. And it's very emotional by the end. I cried just a little bit during that final shot and that final scene of the movie, if you know what I'm talking about. This is the highest rated movie of the year from an audience score on IMDb. This is the one that people loved the most. It's also critically acclaimed. It deserves the audience and critical acclaim. It's a modern day masterpiece. It's in my my 100 favorite movies video, which I will link in the description. I have a clip from this film in there. Yeah. My second favorite film of 2020 is Judas and the Black Messiah. I cannot resist a great biopic. I literally can't. Like, just the fact that when you make a movie and it is based off of true story, like it's following historical events and historical figures, like there's something about that that is so cool to me when something like that just elevates like a story. This would be a fantastic movie on its own. The fact that it's all a true story is just insane. And Daniel Kaluuya in this movie, speaking of Oscar-worthy performances, he got the Oscar for this movie. It's one of the best movie performances I've ever seen. It's one of the best, like, it's like there's people who like say things like that. It's like it's overhyped or whatever. It's not overhyped at all. The hype for Daniel Kaluuya, I can't say his name, in this film is so real. Lakeith Stanfield is also amazing. Jesse Plemons is good too. He's in this. It's kind of great cast. And it is a movie that hits harder than anything. The only thing that hit harder for me was my number one, but I feel like this, for most people that watch this, will be the hardest hitting film they see that was a 2020 film. It's unbelievable. It should have gotten Best Picture. It deserved Best Picture. It's an incredible true story that just hits like a truck. It's fantastic. Number one is a film called Kajillionaire, directed by Miranda July. Kajillionaire is an indie movie, and it's a pretty generic genre for indie. It is a quirky drama comedy. It's a dramedy that also has a crime and heist twist to it. It is about a girl whose parents are really old. I don't know how relevant that is. They're old and they're pretty terrible. They basically treat her as a business partner rather than as a daughter. This movie is the hardest hitting movie for me emotionally. Not to diss my parents. I absolutely love my parents. But this movie, more than anything, made me just appreciate where I am in life. You know how you watch a movie and you finish it and you're like, wow, I'm so glad I'm not a character in this movie. I'm so glad I'm not dealing with these things that they're dealing with. I'm so glad I live in this place where I have clean water. Like something like that, like where there's not all this violence and war, and I'm glad I'm not living in this time period. That's what this movie did for me. But besides that, besides just me having a very strong emotional reaction to this film, especially the ending, it's just an excellent film in every single regard. Like the acting, the script, it's very funny. It's insanely interesting. Like visually, the compositions of this movie, the soundtrack, probably my favorite. Like it has to be my favorite soundtrack of any film in 2020. It's incredible. Like this movie is just, it hits hard. And it is just an excellent film in every single regard. So that is why Kajillionaire is my favorite film of 2020. What are some of your favorite films released in 2020? I am so happy to report that 2022 is a freaking amazing year for movies. And there's all these like movie festival movies that look so good that I've heard are just amazing that haven't been released for like wide audiences yet. But like, I mean, just movies that I'm looking forward to. Wendell and Wild, the newest Henry Selick movie. The last one we got was Coraline, which is also one of my favorite movies of all time. He also made Nightmare Before Christmas. The real director of Nightmare Before Christmas, not Tim Burton. We have Knives Out 2 coming out, a new Spielberg movie called The Fablemans. I'm so excited for all of these movies and many more. Like, and it's been an incredible year for movies. I'm very excited to do a video, and I will, as soon as December rolls around, or maybe in January even, my best movies of 2022. But, like, I'm hyped. Thanks for watching this video. Have a great rest of your day.